All right, popcorn time. You guys sent in some really cool stuff about the Oscars.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a deep dive into 2 years, specifically. 2 years, 2007 and 2017.
Correct.
Think of us as, like, your Oscar historians or something.
Oh, I like the...
Going through all the glitz and glamour,
right.
Trying to figure out what makes those years so special, you know?
Well, what's really interesting is that they're a decade apart, the 2 years that you picked.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sets us up to see how Hollywood... And really, the world has changed. Like, what stories they wanted to hear.
Yeah, like other patterns.
Yeah.
Like, did one year, like, big spectacle movies?
Right.
And another year was more like smaller, intimate stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Let's rewind first to 2007.
Okay.
The 79th Academy Awards.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers the fashion from that night,
Oh, yeah.
please DM us.
Share the pics.
I want to see it.
Right.
But let's start with the big one, Best Picture, of course.
Okay.
What do we have?
The nominees that year were The Departed,
Wait.
Babel, Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, and The Queen.
Wow. Already I see what you're talking about with all the, like, the mix of genres, right?
Right.
So we got crime drama, and then we have, like, a more global drama with Babel.
Yeah.
And then a war film.
Yeah.
But, like, from the Japanese perspective.
Right.
Then Little Miss Sunshine, which is like that indie, quirky.
Yeah, the indie comedy.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then, British period piece.
Right.
It's a lot of variety.
It is a lot of variety.
Okay.
And the winner that year was The Departed,
Oh.
which also got Martin Scorsese his first Best Director Oscar.
Oh, wow. For that movie.
So The Departed, yeah.
That's, I mean,
A long time coming.
you know, like, this is where I need you, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not, like, a huge Scorsese buff.
Yeah.
Like, why was this such a big deal that he won for that movie?
Well, I think, if you think about Scorsese's style, it's very much about, gritty realism.
Yeah.
Morally complex characters.
Okay.
Often set in the criminal underworld.
Right.
And he'd been nominated for Best Director, like, many times before 2007.
Yeah.
For films like Raging Bull, Goodfellas,
Right.
Taxi Driver. I mean,
Wow.
masterpieces. But maybe they felt like a little too edgy for the Academy.
Oh, okay. So
big time.
So The Departed, even though it's a crime film,
Yeah.
do you think it felt more like mainstream for him?
I think it was like, it had the star power,
Okay,
had
yeah.
like a really tight plot.
Right.
And it had that classic Scorsese energy, but also it felt like maybe a little more accessible
Okay.
to a wider audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That
So
way.
what else stood out to you about 2007?
Well, definitely Alan Arkin's Best Supporting Actor win
Yeah.
for Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay.
This sweet little comedy, like amidst all these.
Really intense films.
Yeah.
Really captures hearts. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of tells you something about
Yeah.
what audiences were connecting with at that moment in time.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. And it had that like ending scene with the van, right?
Yeah.
I won't spoil, but
Yeah.
but it was definitely like
It was a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that like broke through.
Yeah, it broke through all the serious
Yeah.
stuff.
For sure.
But, 2007 wasn't all escapism.
Okay.
Remember An Inconvenient Truth?
Mhm.
That documentary about climate change
Right.
that went on to win Best Documentary Feature
Oh, wow.
and really brought this urgent issue into the mainstream.
Okay, so even within a single year, we're seeing this push and pull
Right.
between like wanting to be entertained,
Right.
but also like films that want to say something.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Okay, important things.
Hold on. We've only scratched the surface of 2007.
We have
We have so much more to unpack.
so many more categories.
Yes. So much more.
And nominees
Yeah.
to talk about.
So what other
Sure.
what other acting awards
Yeah.
were given out that year?
Right. Well, for Best Actor in 2007, Forrest Whitaker won
Oh yeah.
for his portrayal of Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland.
Oh wow.
It was a powerhouse performance, really capturing that dictator's
Right.
charisma and brutality.
Oh, it's like one of those roles where you almost forget you're watching an actor.
Oh, yeah,
Total transformative.
absolutely.
Oh, who is he up against?
Well, the nominees were a mix of, familiar faces and some rising stars.
Oh, cool.
You had Leonardo DiCaprio for Blood Diamond,
Okay.
Ryan Gosling, who is, just starting to really make waves, for Half Nelson,
Okay.
the legendary Peter O'Toole for Venus,
Oh, wow.
and Will Smith for the pursuit of happiness.
Wow, what a range.
Yeah, totally different.
Like from diamond smuggling drama
right.
to like a teacher battling addiction.
Yeah.
And then like a veteran actor reflecting on life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Will Smith in like
feel good mode.
Full feel good mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who took home Best Actress that year?
It went to the incredible Helen Mirren.
Oh.
For her portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, yeah.
In The Queen.
That's right.
She just perfectly captured the monarch's grace and strength during a time of national crisis.
Helen Mirren is just one of those actors who, like, the minute she comes on screen, you're just like, zoned in.
Yeah.
I remember that movie, too, feeling very timely, right? Like, it was kind of reflecting on Princess Diana's death and how the royal family had to, like, navigate all that.
Exactly. It was very relevant at the time.
Yeah, host was nominated.
Okay, so you had Penelope Cruz for Vulver.
Okay.
Judi Dench for Notes on a Scandal.
Right.
Meryl Streep, of course.
Okay.
For The Devil Wears Prada.
Of course.
And Kate Winslet for Little Children.
Wow. All right, so we've got like Almodovar's like signature vibrancy with Penelope Cruz.
Right.
Then we've got like a psychological thriller.
Notes on a Scandal.
With Judi Dench.
Yeah.
And then Streep in like peak fashion world satire.
Yeah.
And then Winslet in like a complex drama about suburban life.
Right.
2007. Stacked.
It was stacked.
Talent.
It was a very good year for film.
It was, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so we talked about Alan Arkin winning for Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
Best supporting actor, but who was he up against?
Well, he was up against some heavy hitters.
Okay.
You had Jackie Earle Haley for Little Children.
Okay.
Djimon Hounsou for Blood Diamond.
Right.
Eddie Murphy for Dreamgirls. And Mark Wahlberg for The Departed.
It's just like so many good movies came out that year. It's crazy.
Wild.
What about Best Supporting Actress?
Jennifer Hudson just blew everyone away with her performance in Dreamgirls. Right.
And rightfully so. She took home the Oscar.
Yeah.
She was nominated alongside Adriana Barraza for Babel.
Oh.
Kate Blanchett for Notes on a Scandal.
Right.
Abigail Breslin, who was so young and fantastic in Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And Rinko Kikuchi for Babel.
It's interesting to see Babel getting a lot of these like acting nominations.
Yeah.
Because it really reflects like the ensemble cast, right? And like the sprawling storyline.
Yeah. It was very much a global film.
All right. So before we jump to 2017.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we should note about the 2007 Oscars?
Well, I think it was just a year of like a lot of firsts for some of these winners.
Okay.
Which is always exciting, you know?
Right.
And it showcased, a really diverse range of genres and storytelling styles.
Okay.
Which suggests like a certain openness in Hollywood at the time.
Okay. So keep that in mind, everyone, as we fast forward to
a decade later
to the 89th Academy Awards.
In 2017.
Right.
Same question. What were we looking at for Best Picture that year?
Okay, so this time around we have Moonlight, Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land Lion, and Manchester by the Sea.
Wow, 9 nominees.
9.
Okay, and right away I'm noticing a theme.
What's that?
Stories about race.
Right.
Identity.
Yeah.
Social justice seem much more prominent in 2017 than they were in 2007.
That's a really good observation.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right. Yeah. So like Moonlight, which ended up winning, right?
Yeah.
That coming of age story centered on like this young black man dealing with sexuality and his identity.
And identity, right.
And then you have Fences, which is adapted from August Wilson's play.
Yes.
Dealing with race and family dynamics in the 1950s.
Right.
Hidden Figures, which was about, those brilliant black female mathematicians who were crucial to NASA's success. It's like, these films weren't just entertaining.
Right.
They were like pushing the conversation forward in important ways.
Yeah.
And what about the other nominees?
Well, you had Arrival, which brought, some really smart sci-fi to the table, exploring themes of language and connection.
Okay.
You had Hacksaw Ridge, which was this incredibly powerful war film, but told from the perspective of a pacifist.
Okay.
Hell or High Water, which gave us like kind of a modern Western, but with, really intense economic anxieties at its core.
Oh, yeah.
Lion was just this very moving adoption story spanning continents.
Yeah.
And then Manchester by the Sea was like a really heartbreaking character study about grief and family.
Oh, and let's not forget La La Land.
Oh, how could we? Wow. The musical that had everybody talking.
That had everybody talking, yeah.
It was such...
like Love Letter to Hollywood.
Yes.
Vibrant colors.
Yeah. Stunning choreography.
It was just, it felt like, You
felt like a moment, right?
It was a moment.
Right.
It was escapist. It was romantic.
Yeah.
But it also, touched on those themes of, ambition.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices that artists often have to make.
Right. It was bittersweet.
Yeah.
Little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there was that whole Best Picture mix-up.
Oh, yes. A moment that will forever be etched in Oscar history.
Talk about a roller coaster.
I know. I mean, first, La La Land is announced as the winner.
Right.
And then
the producers came out and said, oh, no, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Moonlight actually won.
It was Moonlight. It was chaotic.
It was...
But also kind of symbolic in a way.
Yeah.
You had this, big, flashy musical that was seemingly going to win, and then it went to this smaller, more intimate film that focused on a marginalized community.
It did feel like a shift.
A little bit.
It was a shift.
Yeah, like passing of the torch in some way.
Exactly.
But mix up aside, La La Land still took home a lot of awards that night.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Damien Chazelle won Best Director.
He did.
And Emma Stone won Best Actress.
She did. For her just captivating performance as Mia.
She was radiant in that role.
She was really fantastic in it.
She was. Okay, let's look at the other acting categories in 2017.
Okay.
Who was nominated?
Well, for Best Actor, you had Casey Affleck.
Okay.
For his emotionally raw performance in Manchester by the Sea.
Right.
Andrew Garfield for his portrayal of the pacifist soldier in Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
Again.
For his work in La La Land.
Right.
Viggo Mortensen for his role in Captain Fantastic.
Okay.
And Denzel Washington for his really powerful performance in Fences.
I mean, just powerhouse acting.
I know, serious acting chops on display that year.
Yeah, and again, such a range of roles.
Totally.
What about Best Actress alongside Emma Stone?
Well, alongside Emma Stone, you had Isabelle Huppert, who was nominated for her just fearless performance in the French thriller Elle. Ruth Negga for her subtle and moving work in loving Natalie Portman for her transformation into Jackie Kennedy and Jackie.
Yeah.
And then you had Meryl Streep.
Oh, of course.
Making Oscar history with her 20th nomination.
What?
For Florence Foster Jenkins.
That's crazy.
I mean, at this point, it's almost expected that she's going to be nominated.
Right.
But it doesn't make it any less impressive.
It's still really impressive.
It's wild.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the supporting categories.
All right.
Who was recognized in those in 2017?
Okay, so for Best Supporting Actor, Mahershala Ali won for his just truly poignant portrayal of a drug dealer in Moonlight.
Yeah.
He was nominated alongside Jeff Bridges for Hell or High Water, Lucas Hedges, who was so good in Manchester by the Sea, Dev Patel for Lion, and Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals.
Wow. And Best Supporting Actress?
Viola Davis won for her just heartbreaking performance in Fences.
Right.
And she was up against Naomi Harris for Moonlight, Nicole Kidman for Lion, Octavia Spencer for Hidden Figures, and Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea.
It's there's so many incredible performances.
So many good performances.
It's just we're skimming the surface of all this talent.
Yeah.
Anything else? Beyond those main categories?
Yeah.
That stands out to you about 2017?
Well, I think, La La Land, it may have lost Best Picture.
Right.
But it still took home awards for cinematography, original score, production design, and original song.
It was such a visual.
It was a feast for the senses.
It really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else win big that year?
Well, Hacksaw Ridge won for film editing and sound mixing, which is, no surprise given all of those just intense battle sequences.
Yeah.
Zootopia won Best Animated Feature.
Oh, that's right.
And OJ Made in America took home the award for Best Documentary Feature.
Okay, so again, we're seeing this mix of big studio films, independent projects, documentaries that are sparking conversation and animation that appeals to everyone.
Right. Trying to...
Yeah, it feels like the Academy was really trying to recognize a wide spectrum of like what filmmaking is?
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they were really embracing stories that were both, entertaining, but also thought-provoking.
Right.
And reflected, like, the diversity of voices and experiences in the world.
So we've kind of explored the big winners of 2007 and 2017. We started to notice some interesting patterns. But now I'm curious.
What are you curious about?
Like, how do these years stack up when we look at, like, the previous Oscar nominations and wins of the nominees?
Okay.
Does that tell us anything about?
That's a really great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can really, reveal a lot about the long game in filmmaking.
Yeah.
And how, certain actors or directors, like, build their careers over time.
Perfect. Let's start with 2017.
Okay.
Were there any nominees that year who were already, like, Oscar veterans?
Absolutely. Meryl Streep.
Oh, yeah.
Nominated for Florence Foster Jenkins.
Right.
Already had a mind-blowing 20 nominations.
What?
20 nominations.
And 3 wins.
And 3 wins under her belt.
At that point.
At that point, yeah.
It's like she's in her own category.
I know, she really is.
Yeah.
She's like Oscar royalty.
Right. What about any other, like, previous winners?
You had Denzel Washington, nominated for Best Actor for Fences, who had already won 2 Oscars.
Okay.
Best Supporting Actor for Glory in 1990.
Okay.
And then Best Actor for Training Day in 2002.
Okay, so they were both, by 2017, already Oscar royalty.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Does that, I mean, I don't know, makes you wonder if, like, previous wins influence the Academy at all?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's like, does previous success make you more likely to be nominated?
Right, right.
Or is it really about the performance?
Yeah.
You know?
Who else had already tasted Oscar glory, so to speak?
Well, Jeff Bridges was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Hell or High Water.
Right.
And he had been nominated for an Oscar 6 times.
Wow.
Previously.
6 times.
6 times.
Before a win?
Before finally winning.
What?
Best Actor for Crazy Heart in 2010.
Wow, that's some dedication.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, and what about any directors who had already won an Oscar before 2017?
Mel Gibson.
Okay.
Nominated for Best Director for Hacksaw Ridge.
Right.
Had previously won for Braveheart in 1996.
Okay, so quite a few established names in the mix that year.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it does suggest that, like, the Academy recognizes talent over time.
Yeah.
Even if it takes people, like, a while to break through.
Yeah, it's a long game.
It is sometimes. Okay, let's rewind to 2007.
Okay.
See if we find any similar patterns.
All right.
Any previous Oscar winners in the running that year.
Well, as we mentioned, Martin Scorsese finally won Best Director for The Departed.
Yeah.
After 5 previous nominations in that category.
5 nominations.
5 nominations. It's got to be some kind of record. It's pretty impressive.
Before he finally won.
Right.
Yeah.
It says a lot about, his persistence.
Yeah.
His vision.
Right.
And maybe even how the Academy's tastes were shifting, over time.
Right. Totally. What about any other, like, previous winners? Okay. So you had Clint Eastwood, nominated for Best Director for Letters from Iwo Jima.
Okay.
Who had already won Best Director and Best Picture.
Wow.
For Unforgiven in 1993 and $1 Million Baby in 2005.
So he was already a double Oscar winner.
He was a double Oscar winner.
Wow. Talk about a track record.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What about any of the actors?
Okay, so you had Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah.
Who was nominated for Blood Diamond.
Right.
Had been nominated twice before.
Okay.
Best Supporting Actor for What's Eating Gilbert Grape in 1994.
Oh, wow.
And Best Actor for The Aviator in 2005.
Right, okay.
Peter O'Toole.
Okay.
Nominated for Venus in 2007.
Right.
Had a really remarkable Oscar history.
Oh, wow.
With 8 nominations for Best Actor.
8?
Starting with Lawrence of Arabia in 1963.
Oh, my gosh.
He even received an honorary award in 2003.
Wow.
For his lifetime achievement.
8 nominations for Best Actor? That's got to be some kind of record, too.
I think it might be. It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a testament to his talent.
Absolutely.
And just enduring legacy, yeah.
Absolutely.
And Judi Dench.
Yes.
Was nominated for Notes on a Scandal.
Right.
But she'd already won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
She did.
For Shakespeare in Love in 1999.
That's right.
Okay, so both 2007 and 2017 had, like, a mix of newcomers and seasoned Oscar contenders.
Exactly.
But Did any of those previous wins or nominations actually affect?
It's really hard to say.
Right. It's a tough question.
It's tough to know, like, what goes on inside the minds of Academy voters.
Right.
You know?
Totally.
But it makes you wonder if there's, like, you know,
right.
a certain momentum
right.
that builds over time.
Right. Like, does winning an Oscar make you more likely to be nominated again?
Right. Or is it really about the performance?
right. Or is it about the film?
The film itself.
Right.
And the buzz.
Yeah.
You know, the hype. Yeah.
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. It's part of what makes the Oscars so fascinating, right? It's like this blend of artistry, industry politics, and unpredictable human choices.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered, like, the big wins, the nominees. We've even delved into their Oscar histories.
We have.
But let's get to the heart of it, you know?
Okay, let's get to the heart of it.
What were the movies themselves like?
Yeah.
Beyond
the awards.
Beyond the awards and categories.
Right.
What were the stories being told?
Right.
What themes were resonating with audiences?
That's where it gets really interesting, right? Because now we're not just looking at, like, lists of names.
Right.
But we're really looking at how these films reflected the world around them and how they captured our imaginations.
Exactly. So let's put on our film critic hats for a second.
Okay.
And compare 2007 and 2017.
All right.
Looking for those, like, similarities and differences.
Yeah.
In the kinds of stories being told. Where should we start?
Well, I think one, like, really obvious difference is the prominence of films about race and social justice.
Okay.
In 2017, as you pointed out earlier, you know, Moonlight, Fences, and Hidden Figures all tackled these themes head on, and they resonated really deeply with audiences.
Right, yeah.
And in 2007, you know, those types of stories were present.
Okay.
But they weren't as, like, central to the awards conversation.
That's a really good point. It's like, it suggests a shift in Hollywood and their willingness to tell those stories.
Right.
And maybe even the audience's, like, appetite for it. It's like a cultural conversation that was happening through these films.
Absolutely. It reflects, you know, the changing demographics of the country, as well as, like, the growing awareness of social justice issues.
Right. Yeah, it's not just about entertainment. It's about representation.
Yeah.
Giving voice to people who haven't always been heard.
Yeah, and seen, on screen.
What other differences stand out to you?
Well, I think 2007 seemed to have, like, a wider range of genres represented in the Best Picture category.
Okay.
You know, you had your crime dramas, war films, comedies. Even, like, a quirky indie film like Little Miss Sunshine. And then in 2017, there was, like, a bit more focus on dramas and biopics, with a few exceptions, like, you know, Arrival and La La Land.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that reflects, like, a changing landscape in Hollywood too, right?
I think so.
Like, in 2007, there was still a strong, like, market for mid-budget films that would appeal to, like, a wider audience.
Yeah.
By 2017, it feels like the industry had become more focused on, like, blockbusters and awards bait films.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I wonder if, like, the rise of streaming services have played a part in that too, right?
It's possible.
By 2017, Netflix and Amazon were, you know, producing their own films.
Right.
And often, like, they were more focused on, like, prestige dramas.
Right. Exactly.
And documentaries than, like, genre films.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, that the way we consume film has definitely changed.
Absolutely.
And that's bound to have, like, an impact on the kinds of stories that are being told.
Absolutely.
But even with those differences in genre, do you see any, like, thematic similarities?
Definitely. I think both years featured films that, like, really explored the complexities of human relationships.
Okay.
You know, the search for identity.
Right.
And just the struggles of everyday life.
Right.
You know?
For example?
Well, you know, if you think about, like, Little Miss Sunshine in 2007.
And Manchester by the Sea in 2017.
Okay.
Both dealt with family dynamics and the challenges of, like, connection.
Right.
But they approached those themes in very, like, different ways.
Yeah. So, like, Little Miss Sunshine was a more comedic and ultimately, like, heartwarming perspective.
Right.
While Manchester by the Sea was very somber.
Yeah, much more introspective. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So one was, like, a road trip comedy.
Right.
And the other one was like
character study.
This character study.
About grief and loss.
Right. But both films kind of acknowledge like the messiness and the beauty of family relationships.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And if you look at like The Departed in 200 and Moonlight in 2017, you see another interesting comparison, right?
In how they handle those themes of masculinity and identity.
Yeah, so The Departed explores those themes through a lens of like crime and moral ambiguity.
Right, yeah.
Whereas Moonlight offers this like much more intimate and poetic examination of like a young black man's coming of age story.
So like The Departed is all about like, you know, undercover cops and the blurred lines between right and wrong.
Right, exactly.
And then Moonlight is about like finding yourself and accepting who you are, even when the world tries to tell you who you should be.
Exactly. But both powerful films.
Both powerful films, but with very different approaches.
Yeah.
And both won Best Picture.
They did, which I think suggests that the Academy does appreciate like a diversity of storytelling styles and perspective.
So even with like those differences in genre and tone, there are some like
core human themes
that resonate across both years.
Absolutely.
It's like the Oscars at their best are kind of a reflection,
I think so,
of who we are and what we're grappling with.
Yeah, and the questions we're asking
as a society.
Right.
Okay, so we've analyzed the categories, the winners, the nominees, even delved into
their Oscar histories.
But
a lot.
It is a lot. It's time for
recommendations.
Right. Based on everything.
Yes.
What double feature?
Yes, what double features
would you recommend to our listeners who want to experience a taste? The 2017 movie magic.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
There are so many great choices.
I know.
But if I had to pick,
drum roll please,
from 2007, I would recommend The Departed.
Okay. Scorsese finally getting his Best Director win.
Yeah.
Plus, it took Best Picture.
Yeah.
Classic choice.
Classic.
What makes it a must-watch, even for someone who maybe hasn't seen it?
Oh, it's a masterclass in suspense.
Okay.
The story is so intricate.
Okay.
The characters are just like morally complex.
Okay.
The performances are top-notch. Yeah. Plus, it gives you like a real taste of that, like classic Scorsese style, gritty, energetic, and just totally captivating.
Okay, so that's 2007. What about 2017?
Okay, this one's a little harder to choose.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with Moonlight.
Okay, the movie that actually won Best Picture.
Yes.
After the whole mix-up.
After the mix-up.
Yeah, I remember that being such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Like, why Moonlight? What makes it stand out?
Well, I think it's just a film that really stays with you.
Okay.
It's beautifully shot.
Okay.
The acting is so nuanced, and the story explores, like, identity. Yeah.
And love.
Right.
In such a profound way.
Right.
It really challenges you to like feel deeply, to think critically, and to see the world through a different lens.
It's a perfect pairing.
I think so.
Right. The Departed for that like classic Hollywood energy.
Yeah.
And then Moonlight for a film that
pushes the boundaries.
Pushes boundaries and makes you feel something.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, as our listeners watch these films, I think it'd be really interesting for them to think about how they reflect the cultural shifts that we've been talking about. How the stories we tell ourselves, the characters we identify with, the themes that resonate with us, how have they changed?
How have they changed? That's the question to think about.
Maybe watching these films will spark some new insights, some aha moments.
Yes.
That connect.
These 2 years in ways we haven't even considered.
That's the beauty of film, isn't it? It's a conversation that never ends.
Well said. All right. So to our listeners, enjoy your double feature.
Enjoy.
And keep diving deep.
Keep diving
into the world of cinema.
Yes.
You never know what treasures you might find.
You never know.
And that wraps up another deep dive.
Another one.
Until next time, happy watching.